So if you haven't seen, Sabrina Carpenter released her album art. It's right here. Oh my gosh. Hello, album art. And I wanted to talk about it because the internet is upset. And I mean, it is a very provocative image, right? So to start out, I wanted to say I am not a Sabrina Carpenter fan. I'm not a hater by any stretch of the imagination. Me and pop music, I like what I like, and I have bad taste, so I'll say that. But I've heard Juno and I've heard Espresso. I also want to say I'm not an art historian, because I am going to be talking about art a lot. What I am is a lesbian who's been on Tumblr for a very, very long time, and a student of Laura Mulvey, who, if you don't know who that is, she is the person who wrote The Male Gaze, which I think is what it's called. It might not be called that. Sorry, Laura Mulvey, I don't know. But I'm specifically interested in female spectatorship in particular, and since the people who are looking at this images are women, I get to talk about spectatorship, which is the thing that I love to talk about. Also, because I'm a person on the internet, sometimes you're on Tumblr a lot, and you see things about kink, and you go, that's weird, and I don't like that. But I want to understand why other people do. And then you do a lot of research about that because your brain works like that. Anyways, also, I really like art history, specifically images of women in domestic spaces. That's really important to me. And sensual pictures in particular, so women on chaise lounges or women who are partially nude. And I like understanding who created that, why they created it, why the women are posed, and who the audience is supposed to be, and what the gaze of the woman in that image says. Because Sabrina Carpenter's album cover is in a domestic space, and we're gonna analyze it as if it were a piece of art. My friend, a Sabrina Carpenter stan, told me that Sabrina often sings about being submissive in her music. I knew she sang about a pregnancy kink, and I knew her imagery is very flirty, sexy, very in on the joke. She averts the male gaze by being playful. So she's able to sing about being submissive, but there's a joke there. There's a sense of control there. And so we see in this image that submissiveness. She is on her knees for a man. He is holding her hair, but it's kind of silly, at least to me. He's not pulling at it, and he's just kind of like holding it. There's an older quality to the photo as well. I think it's shot on some film, or at least edited to look like it is, or at least that's my best guess. And the man is out of frame. We don't see his expression. He's just sort of like a shadowy figure, so he kind of feels unimportant. What I find interesting here, though, is her gaze at the camera. If she was sitting in like an ehegao position, which I'm just gonna have you look that up. Like, I can't be putting this on sometimes my parents watch these guys. I can't be putting this on there. But if she was looking like that and she was looking at him, well, it'd be easy to say it's for the male gaze because she'd be looking mindlessly and in pleasure at him. But it made me a little uncomfortable. And maybe that's because I usually do get uncomfortable with scenes of masculine dominance. But I know that is a kink that people do have, and people want that in their relationship. I, as a lesbian, just kind of see the sexist bit of it because there's no part of me that has any interest, as I imagine anyone who is straight or bisexual or likes men would say if they saw that and weren't really into that in a bedroom setting. Also, just because women like doing this in the bedroom does not mean that they want all men to make them submit and that they believe that women are submissive. It's why people read Colleen Hoover, right? Like, I don't think most of the women who read that want the stuff in her books to happen, but they like the fantasy of it. It is consented to. They still have autonomy in this situation. They're just maybe pretending for a little bit. They don't. They still are intelligent and smart and in control. This is a play. It's an act. And listen, personally, I am not buying a ticket to that play, okay? It kind of makes me feel gross. I just go, he doesn't think of her as a person, but I can't see his face. Literally in this image, I cannot see his face. I do not know what he's thinking. Also, if it's consensual, he probably doesn't think that she is weak or submissive outside of that relationship. This is just something that is going on in that space, hopefully. And we're getting a look into this scene, into this moment, when Sabrina Carpenter sings or performs, you are not seeing her in the bedroom. You're not seeing her in this space. When she says, "Have you ever seen this one?" and she does a pose, she's mimicking something for you. It's a play. She's taking ownership of it as a thing she does. She's literally addressing you when she's on stage. And so you know that, again, she is in control and that she's enjoying this. So the song and the stage performance create this kind of barrier. You are not seeing her in the bedroom. You're seeing her having fun and being silly. A woman is taking ownership of her sex life. She's joking about what she enjoys and what she finds pleasurable. She is in control on the stage. You're not seeing the actual action of submissiveness. So you can kind of ignore it because it feels powerful when she's singing. You're not seeing it. But in the image, you are seeing it, and she's staring right at you. It feels awkward and unglamorous, and her smile is like, I tried doing it with my own face because I was like, what would this mean? What does this feel like? And it's kind of like half, like it is there, but it's like odd. It feels like you've cut into her private space. She is kind of smiling and kind of happy, and it kind of feels like she's a pinup girl. And it's not like she's inviting you in. She's just sort of acknowledging you. It's like a fourth wall break. She's breaking the moment as she does in her music, in her stage presence. The image is something you are only half in. This is a play, and she was indulging in a sexual fantasy, and now she's kind of just looking at you, and you can see this is like an act in the background as you and her, and that look between you has been foregrounded. But I don't know who we are. You know, the background looks a little bit cheap. The position is demeaning, but not fully sexual. I don't know. There's something that's just so, like, unglamorous to me, even though she looks so good. But I wanted to think here about the spectator, because she is looking at us. Now, when I say spectator, I'm using spectator as the ideal spectator. When feminist film theorists use the idea of spectator, they are imagining the ideal person, or the person you are cast into being when you're watching a movie. So I am not myself, like I am the woman the movie imagines is looking. So who does the image think is looking? Who are you? Who is Sabrina Carpenter cast you into being when she's looking at you? It's not who you are, it's who you're cast into being. I've gone on a little tangent, but now that we understand that, let's continue on. So something I think we need to talk about is the idea of the, like, sexy images and what's for men and what's for women. And people are like, oh, you just kind of know, like Megan Fox in Transformers, that's for men. But I think it's almost when there's no cheekiness, there's no silliness, it's just the image of sexy that's almost devoid of personality. Hey, it's Editor Ann, and I think that our terms for male gaze and female gaze have moved away from what Laura Mulvey meant. But what I mean here is when the camera looks at women in a way where the only goal of the camera is to make the woman be titillating for a man. So that's like panty shots, boob shots, but it's also showing women in a very voyeuristic way for the audience. And so there's ways for women to still be sexy, but not have that voyeuristic lens. And something that I think subverts it well is, on one hand, casual nudity in something where it's just kind of there in the background. It's not really a shot that is focused on. Or when the focus is on female pleasure, personality, campiness, or silliness. Because then, and it depends on the type of silliness, but then sometimes it can subvert that image. But I think what needs to be understood is why Sabrina Carpenter is able to be sexy usually on stage is because she is taking ownership of it. She's like, I feel beautiful and I feel good and I feel sexy. And she's very silly about it. She's joking and she's fully in control. She's not doing this for men. She's doing it because she likes it. And I think that's the fundamental difference. I think that Sabrina Carpenter usually falls on the side of female gaze because she's constructing her fantasy for herself. So men can find her sexy, but they have to find the whole of her sexy. And when we listen to her music and we watch her perform, we know that. When we are only given the image, we have to look for clues. What is this image saying to us? Who are we? And what we have is a man we know nothing about and a woman, Sabrina, looking at us, noticing us. There's a hand in her hair that hasn't let go yet. And it makes it feel like he's cardboard, because wouldn't he notice? Wouldn't he be looking too? And it's so oddly positioned too. And her hair kind of looks like almost like fake, like a wig. And because of that, it feels like she's an actress in a play and she has stopped to take a look at us. And I think that's what it is. Maybe when we see the album and the lyrics, we'll know more. Because I think you're allowed to feel uncomfortable, and I think it is really important to think about questions of the male gaze and the female gaze and who the spectator is cast into being. And right now, I think that we are cast into being audience members, and she is our narrator. And so it makes sense to be uncomfortable by this image because it is representing a kink. And sometimes there are kinks that are uncomfortable and that I don't want to see. Like, this is not in my house. This is a house of God and I don't want to see that. Okay. But it's something that she enjoys. And I think she's taking ownership of the fact that she enjoys that. I also don't think that I don't imagine men getting off to this image. There's just something that's off about it enough. And like, her facial expression is not in pleasure. Like, she is very beautiful, don't get me wrong. But there's just something that's so like out of the moment about it to me that I'm like, but again, I don't know the psyches of men. If you want, like, we can work on that, men. But in this moment, I'm good. I don't need to know if this gets you off, okay? I think there's something ironic in the album title. The album title is Man's Best Friend. She is on her knees, but she's not really acting like a dog. Again, she's breaking the fourth wall as if she's in a play. What I wanted to make this video for is I wanted to say, you can react however you want. I'm not telling you not to. No, but I think you should always, when you look at images like this, specifically of sexy women, you should think about who made it, who did they make it for, who am I when I engage with this piece of artwork? Who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be drawn to? What are my eyes supposed to be looking at? Who am I cast as in this play? I think that is really important. And I do plan on actually going more into female spectatorship later this year, if not early next year. I have a very long video essay coming about our role as spectator when watching Mean Girl movies. But I do think that we throw around the term male gaze, female gaze too much. When you look at a piece of art, when you look at an album cover, when you look at a photo, how are you looking at the album cover? How are you looking at the photo? How are you looking at this piece of art? And how does it make you feel? And then I think it's really important to ask yourself why. Because this will be a fun exercise and it will help you learn something about yourself. Again, I find this very uncomfortable, but I realize that it comes from my personal biases and feelings of sexuality. And I have, again, tried to figure out why people like things that I find uncomfortable or weird, and I think it's fruitful to look into that. In conclusion, feel how you feel, but think about it. I'm not saying she's a feminist icon. I'm saying she is a woman who has kinks and likes to sing about it, and I think that's what she's doing here, and I'd imagine that there's some irony going into it, knowing what her persona is. But that's all I can say. Again, I'm not a Sabrina Carpenter expert by any means. I did my best. I did my research. I talked to my Sabrina Carpenter fangirl friends, and I keep getting reels of her on my Instagram. So, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe or unsubscribe. You can always do whichever one you like as long as you do one of the two. So that way I get you for one, at least. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day, or maybe you're going to sleep. If so, why me? Is this the voice you want? I'll sing you a lullaby. I will not sing you a lullaby. Maybe later. Okay, bye!